status permanently. I've enjoyed the arrival of these events in Tacticus as they keep the game fresh and interesting, challenge players to adapt their strategies, and it's a great way to enhance replayability. Tacticus continues to have more events like this, so make sure to join and try them out. You can try Tacticus today. It's free, so download now, take command, and annihilate the Xenos horrors in the name of the Emperor. Click the link below this video and support my channel by using the QR code on screen now and join the ever-growing community of Tacticus today. If you are not someone whose hobby life is spent absolutely soaking in the verse that is Warhammer 40,000, you may not have felt the crushing chest pain of anticipation that has been delivered and now unleashed in the form of Space Marine 2. Space Marine 2 had a challenging brief: deliver a sequel to one of the most surprisingly venerated 40k games, beloved by the community, and coming with a heavy side order of decade-old third-person action nostalgia. Tick the boxes for an audience who have spent that decade ruminating on specifically how they wanted to see the narrative resolve, maintain the feeling of the game genre, stick to the lore, make it visually stunning, solid performance, cross-play, and also make the entire thing accessible to people who are 100% new to Warhammer 40,000. I think it's worth remembering what the studio were facing in giving a review of this game, because that is a daunting brief. That's not to say we cannot give criticism and praise where it's due. Objective feedback is always important. But I think to fully appreciate what Space Marine 2 is as a game, today I want to just give an overview and a general thoughts piece. And I do want to keep major spoilers to a bare minimum because the game is still on its full public release week, and I'm sure many people will be waiting still to get in time with the campaign. With that said, I'm basically overviewing the game, so there will be discussions of characters, and in the last chapter of this video, there will be some spoiler elements in the discussion, but don't worry, there will be fair warning. But as always, I want to go a little sideways first and talk about 40k more generally. Now, if you're not interested in me framing the game in its broader context, I assume it's because you'll either be asleep by the end of this intro or skip to the next chapter. So let's start off with my favourite thing, context, because it's important, as always. I'll also just declare from the outset a pretty big secret that I am a disgustingly obsessed 40k nerd, so much so that I own a scale Thunderhawk as you see in the game, and it weighs an absolute ton because it's cast resin. It's ridiculous, but I love it. It was a childhood dream to own one, and I will soon be painting it up in the specific paint format seen here in Space Marine 2. More generally, I am immersed in the lore so heavily that I spend just about every single day doing something 40k related. I have multiple tabletop armies. I just finished creating a studio at my home dedicated for 40k. So it's fair to say that I have more than a few small biases. And in that sense, Space Marine 2 won me over, just as the first game did. It won me on the atmosphere, the ability to inhabit and experience a 3D 40k world, the moments of atmospheric cinematic delivery that make the hairs stand up on your skin. This is just the icing on the cake. But with all that said, I do need to note that 40k is a strange hobby space, in the sense that it has for over a decade teetered on the edge of being, for better or worse, headed toward the mainstream, but also not really, which is the oddity with this. It's grown bigger and more popular than ever, yet it's also remained still entirely off the radar for all but the most committed gaming nerds. Some have said in recent days that the release of Space Marine 2 is going to facilitate that transition toward mainstream status for 40k. I wouldn't say that that was untrue at all, but I still have my doubts, not least because it's something that's been said for almost the entire time my channel has focused on 40k, and it hasn't happened. In the gaming space, 40k does seem to be growing in awareness, but it's far from being on the name of everybody's lips, and it's still a large step away from anything one would call mainstream. Beyond the video games, which have been of increasing quality recently, you also run into the additional puzzle that is the 40k hobby in general. For this is quite the strange beast itself. It has multiple avenues to bring new fans in and is arguably more accessible than ever before. This is something I try to help people with as much as possible. Yet the barrier to entry often remains, either in the lore complexity, or quite honestly, when people start to consider the miniature side of 40k, they're going to factor in details like, are there local events near to me? Alongside, of course, the level of personal disposable income. Because while 40k is certainly no more expensive than many other hobbies, it's not for the faint-hearted wallet either. Then there's the fact that unlike other major IPs who have established movies or a TV show to back them up, or even just a more consistent series of game titles, 40k suffers from the fact that the majority of its core narrative is locked into tabletop rulebooks or 10-hour plus novels and audiobooks, something that is prohibitively obstructive for new people, brand new people, interested in 40k, and the primary reason why lore channels exist. On top of this, other elements are then just fragmented across games and articles. I want to note for the 1000th time, one of the most significant events in the entire 40k IP, The Gathering Storm, was released nearly 8 years ago now. It was so exciting, so revelatory, that it reignited my passion for 40k. It tells of the fall of Cadia, the return of Guilliman, the rise of the Inari, and events that would lead to the foundation of all that occurs in the contemporary Imperium. Where can you find this to purchase? You can't. It's been out of print for, well, about 8 years. Of course, there's always eBay, if you have the coin. A full set of the books runs you anything between £100 to £150, that's $130 to $200. It is also available digitally.